Okay. We will call to order the special meeting of the Board of Aldermen, the budget adoption for year 2025-2006 budget for Monday, June 2nd, 2025. If everyone will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a silent prayer. Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Elsa. Alderwoman Cavallo.
Here.
Alderman Dorso. Alderman Hunter.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman Mosley.
Here.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy. Alderman Nugent. Alderman Rinaldi.
Here.
Alderman Rodriguez.
Present.
Alderman Salvio.
Present.
Alderman Taladine.
Present.
Alderwoman Weaver.
Here.
Alderwoman Zimmerman.
Present.
Alderman DiGiovincarlo.
Here.
15 present.
Okay. We have one item of business tonight, and it's consideration and action on the mayor's proposed 2025-2026 budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026, and the capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2026-2030. We will take up the 6 resolutions for our budget and the 2 for the capital projects as a committee of the whole. And with that, Alderman Dorso, is there a motion to resolve ourselves in the committee of the whole?
So moved.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we are sitting as a committee of the whole. Resolution number 1 is a resolution making appropriations for operating departments of the City of Waterbury for the ensuing 2026 fiscal year pursuant to Statute 9B-3C of the Charter of the City of Waterbury. The total operating budget for the general fund is $627,627,000, and $446,627,058. Alderman Dorso, is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 1 is read.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Alsef.
I'd like to make a motion to table this at this point. We just submitted an alternative budget to the mayor this afternoon due to the timing of waiting for public hearings and feedback from all the departments and stuff. We didn't have the 3 months prior to seeing the first part of this budget to look at it. And we've been looking at it ever since, and I thought it was responsible that we wait until we had the public hearings to finalize it. We have been working on it, but we did not finalize it until this week. And none of us have a staff that sits there and does our calculations or anything. We all have to do it ourselves. So as a result, today was the first opportunity we had to actually present any alternative to what we feel would be a more reasonable number. So I'm asking that the Board of Aldermen takes the time to say, let's table this for whatever time you think necessary, 2 days, 5 days, a week, whatever, and review an alternative look at this so that everybody can have a chance to discuss what was put in there. And I will reiterate that at one point in time, back in January or so, I personally made a request, and I believe the minority leader made a request, that we be made part of the budget development so that we'd have an understanding when it came down to it of how these numbers were arrived at. I will not fault the department heads for coming in because they answered the questions that we asked.
So why don't you make your motion to table?
I'm explaining it, sir. I made the motion to
So you got to make the motion, then you got to talk.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm
make the
sorry.
motion, and then we'll have some discussion.
I apologize.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to table the item. Is there a discussion?
I'll go back to what I've already said, and I will not hold the department heads responsible for us not having all the information, because we only could ask the question, or they can only answer the questions that we asked. And since we went through some of that, some of us have taken the time to talk to other department heads and get more information, and we've had a lot of input, not from the podium, but phone calls, buttonholed at stores, however you want to say it, walk in the neighborhoods or whatever, of people with questions and stuff. And we haven't had the opportunity to get all those answers until, we still don't have all the answers, but we're working on getting more. And we took the time, and I can personally tell you that there's a lot of hours went into these few sheets. Again, we don't have a full-time staff to help us. We have to do it ourselves. So we submitted this today, and I'm asking that everybody takes the time, every alderman here has a copy of it, takes the time to take a look at it. There's nothing saying, and I'm going to go through this part of it too, why I think we should table it. We are not finding fault. We are offering an alternative and other ways of doing things. And I think it behooves this board to follow through on your responsibilities, to take another look at a different perspective. It's not earth-shattering. It's not going to shut the city down. There isn't a lot in here. The changes were made only after we did a consideration of the answers during the department presentations and input from the public. We didn't make any changes to the capital improvement budget because we felt that that was a necessary situation that we should be following through to avoid even higher costs in the future. But the fact that there are several line items in this budget that followed the 24-25 budget, or in the 23-24 budget, that were inflated from the previous numbers. And we're using those same numbers to develop what we had here. I personally went through the time to look at the audited numbers, the true known expenditures for the 23 and 24 years. And there was some huge increases that I don't think were warranted in the following budget. And again, we're following through on that system now. The delay was because we only get the information we pry. We get this big book to look at, no explanation of how or when this was, or how this was developed, and we only had the questions that we could ask. I feel it's really responsible to take a chance to put forward something else, line item by line item, that then not every single, very few, put it that way, very few line items have been changed. Some of them were not decreased, they were actually increased, because we feel there wasn't enough money being spent in some areas. And I'll cite the fact that the police department was asking for telephones because of FOI and all the other laws that come into it. That was one item that I thought was necessary to keep. And even then, I was cautious. And the number I put in for that was approximately half of what was requested by the police department. Our audit department needs a lot more money. It needs a lot more money, it needs a lot more help, and it needs something. And I hear what was said before. The explanation was, well, all the bond rating people think we're doing a great job. We always have a surplus. Everybody's happy with it. The bond rating does not go in and take each department and compare the cost that one department buys pencils and another one buys pencils. One pays 10 cents, one pays 30 cents. Why is that? And that's just a poor example, but it's what happens. That's what an internal audit department should be doing, should be making sure that we have uniform costs, we have consideration for everything, rather than just the overall picture, well, the city's not in a hole this year, so they're doing good. I don't want to go back and tell people we're wonderful people because we had a surplus this year. My opinion is we have a surplus this year because we overcharged in some places. Not because we worked very, very, very hard to save what we thought we were going to spend. We built it in the beginning. And you can see that when you look at costs such as electricity, which we did go over in some places, but there's other things, telephone cost, fuel cost, way over. And electricity went up last year, so we had a little problem. Electricity's going down this year. That's not reflected. We also don't know what we're getting from the state of Connecticut yet, to a full extent. So we could be severely underfunded in some places and overfunded in others. I think it's premature to take this right now and just vote for it without taking a look at alternatives, and I'd be happy to sit down and discuss where I came up with my numbers, but I'm not going to do a broad brush and say, well, I just took 10% off, because that's not how I did it. We sat down and we looked at the numbers historically, considered what inflation was, did not even look at the numbers for the 25 budget. There was no reason. We don't know what was spent yet. It was the 23 and 24 budgets that we looked at for historical things. And also there was one other year in there. And you could see a pattern of where the increases are or decreases are. It's not that hard to figure out that when you have a 40% increase or something like that in one line item, something's different. And we took the time to look back at the explanations we got from the department heads, looked at the utility rates, looked at the oil, the heating oil, the diesel fuel, the gasoline. Gasoline's down from last year. Why are we paying more this year? Where are we creating savings? It doesn't appear that we're creating savings in a lot of places, that's for sure. And I think it's very important. We had the money to spend on derelict properties this year. That's going to cost us more money. And I think that's a sin. That's a sin. And that's a sin of the future, and it's a sin of today. We hear all the time about the sin of not paying the pension funds and how much that's costing us. How much is the sins that we create today going to cost the future? We buy these buildings, we have to put money into them. And it appears we're not even going to get that money back when we flip it. We've got one building that we had to get into our portfolio last year that, as far as I know, it's only been used for a shooting gallery for people, meaning drugs and stuff and all kinds of other stuff up there. And the neighborhood is always upset about what's going on, and it just sits there. We've got property in the city of Waterbury that's not being taxed, that should be taxed. But we're going back to the honest and good people who do take care of their homes and pay their taxes and telling them, give us more. The people that come in from out of town, buy a 3-family house, collect the rent for it from 5, 10 years, and walk away when it gets so dilapidated nobody wants it. We come along and we have to take care of it after that. I want to see those savings built into a budget. Those things that we stop buying this property, we stop doing these things. We hold people responsible. Hire 2 people to go knock on the door of these New York or out-of-state landlords. Find them, make them pay. Go there with a tax warrant and take the house. Don't buy a building. Don't buy a Sacred Heart. Don't buy these buildings because they're empty. Go after them. Make them pay. One Enterprise, or the Exchange Place. These guys bought this building. It was, in today, if you look at downtown Waterbury, that's one of the newest buildings in downtown. It's a pile of junk because they took it on, sucked the rent out of it. When it got so bad, they stopped paying for everything. Don't worry about it. Here, we'll give you enough money to pay off your tax bill and make a profit and get the hell out of town again. And then we'll fix up everything you neglected. We need to stop this spending like this. And that's the reason why I think if people took the time to look at the alternative that we have put on the table here, you'll recognize the fact that there was some thoughts in here. It wasn't willy-nilly. It wasn't just to come in here and be negative. The last thing I want to ever be known as a paid person, the person against virtually everything, because that's not who I am. I have fought hard to put money back into this budget in places, more money. There's places where the mayor cut things. I agreed 100% on what he cut. There's places where he cut things and I thought, that's a deeper cut than it should be. Places where it wasn't cut, I thought there should be. There's a lot of thought. This is not just a let's be a pain in the neck and do it. This is a thought out document that doesn't have 400 and something pages in it because we don't have to meet bookkeeping and protocol for this stuff because we don't have the means. I think it's responsible for everybody here to say, hey, let's take a couple of more days and look and see. Come back here. Tell me I'm full of baloney. Take the time to look. Don't just accept what you've been told to accept. That's not what your job is as alderman. This is the most important thing we do. It's the quality of life for the people you represent. How much money they have in their pocket at the end of the month. How well their neighborhoods are kept. What it's like to live in Waterbury. Don't shrug it off because it's the proper thing to do to make everybody happy. It just bothers me that every obstacle in the world is put up to make sure that there's no opportunity. Back when I first got elected, my first question was, when do we have training on what we do as aldermen? No, we don't. And I've heard several people in this room say over the years, there should be something, an orientation. We never got it. Never got it. Last year I brought up questions. I was told, well, you didn't give us anything. Well, I developed it this year to give it to you. What I'm saying is take the responsibility. This will probably take most of you 20 minutes to an hour to look at and get a good idea of what it is. I can tell you right now there's probably 70 hours of work in here, of my work and my colleagues' work. Take the time. Let the taxpayers know that you care enough to take the time and see if there's another way of doing it. That's all. Doesn't mean it's right. You don't have to accept it. I'm asking you to take the time to look at it. That's for now, I'm going to relinquish the floor for now.
Further discussion, and Mayor, I know you want to
No,
speak.
if anybody else wants to go.
Anybody else? I'll respond to Alderman Alsef. For the public hearing on the 27th, we only have till tomorrow to pass this budget. So,
Pardon?
we only have till tomorrow to pass the budget. We can go no farther out than 7 days from our second public hearing. So to table it would be, it would push 1 day out, and I don't believe that would be helpful to anybody here or helpful to the cause you're trying to accomplish. So per the, that's the rules, and that's what, so we can't go out more than 7 days. So tomorrow would be the only day possible, so.
I'm available. I just let you know I'm available tomorrow. But
Further discussion from anybody else?
Mr. President.
Alderwoman Zimmerman.
I would just like to read some of our remarks from our executive summary, because I feel it's important for everyone to hear them and the public to know. So in the executive summary for our FY 2026 alternative budget proposal, as elected representatives of the people of Waterbury, we believe we have a duty to govern with responsibility and transparency when it comes to the city budget. After a comprehensive review of the mayor's proposed FY 26 budget, we have created an alternative budget that is fiscally responsible, protective of taxpayers, and preserves the quality of life for all of our residents. This alternative budget proposal achieves a $2 million savings for the city while maintaining all vital services. Our focus in each case, we calculated a fiscally responsible midpoint between the past actuals and the mayor's proposed number. This strategy ensures we remain responsive to inflation and operational growth without overspending. This proposal does not cut, it corrects. This plan proves that we can tighten our fiscal belts without cutting the critical programs that keep our community safe, strong, and thriving. In short, the alternative budget eliminates wasteful spending and ensures no reduction to any emergency services or resident services that our families rely on. Fiscal discipline. Spend smarter, not more. Focus on needs, cut waste, and keep our city affordable for families and businesses. Protect our core services. Continue funding the quality services and safety measures our residents depend on, from policing, and fire response to education, sanitation, and parks, while managing costs prudently. Respect taxpayers. Every dollar comes from our citizens. We owe it to them to avoid overspending. This alternative budget saves over $2 million in our $446,600,027.58 million budget. It demonstrates accountability and good stewardship of public funds. Over $2 million in savings protecting taxpayers. By reining in inflated line items, the alternative budget achieves over $2 million in total savings. These are efficiency gains, dollars that would have been over budgeted, and with the Board of Aldermen support, will now be put back into the taxpayer's pocket instead of tied up in excess appropriations. Even with this $2 million savings, Waterbury will continue to deliver the same high level of services our residents expect and deserve. Every neighborhood service, from public safety to education to sanitation and recreation, is preserved at full strength. The difference is a leaner budget that asks no more of our taxpayers than necessary, reflecting a commitment to responsible stewardship of public funds. Please join us in supporting a balanced, responsible 2026 budget for Waterbury. By implementing these sensible adjustments, we can hold the line on taxes, maintain excellent city services, and invest in Waterbury's future all at the same time. Let's show that fiscal responsibility and quality of life can go hand in hand for our community. It's a win-win for Waterbury. By adopting this plan, we will hold our duty to manage finances wisely, safeguard our taxpayers, and sustain the quality municipal services that continue to make Waterbury a great place to live. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. So we're on a motion to table Resolution 1. We weren't talking about any other operating budget. I didn't want to interrupt you, Alderwoman Zimmerman, but Mayor Pernuski.
Thank you. Just a couple of things, and we did go quite deep on some of this stuff. Let's start with the timing of all of this, right? This is the vote that's been set now for a while as the night this was supposed to happen, based on the fact that we had the last public hearing. This proposal comes 2.5 hours before the scheduled vote. As you correctly point out, according to the charter, the budget has to be adopted or voted on within 7 days of the second public hearing. That brings us to tomorrow, if we're lucky. This was presented a week after the public hearing that would have given the public an opportunity to understand what's in here, what some of these numbers mean, but they don't have a chance to weigh in on it. They don't have a chance to talk about it. So I do, sort of object to this idea that the timing was bad. My budget was presented to you on March 31st of this year in accordance with the charter requirements. You had the last meeting with the general fund department head on April 29th, over a month ago. All of the things that I've seen, and I've spent a little time looking at this in the 2 hours or so that I've had it, are all of the things that were talked about with the department heads. There's hardly anything in here that is different from what you asked about, which are basically going back to numbers from 23 and 24 versus what was in the 25 budget. And I noticed there's not a number on here that corresponds to the 2025 budget. So I'm not even, in some cases, understanding the math as to how you got to some of the numbers that you got to on here. Some of the numbers under 26 correspond to my budget. Some of them don't correspond to my budget. I'm not sure what the cuts are off of. If you back out the water and sewer, you're talking about taking about $1.9 million off of the proposed mill rate. With that savings, it really comes to the average house about $36. I know $36 isn't nothing, it's not a huge number. But I look at some of these cuts, and you talk about you're just coming down. So for instance, let's just take a couple of these while you're talking about them, right? $70,000 from professional services for the Corporation Counsel's office. Now that's something you did talk about with Corp Counsel at the department heads meeting. And she told you that that was the money that was going to Northwest to handle the Title VI work for us, for the city, because we have to do Title VI under federal law. So you zero that out. I think you zero it out, because what you show is $70,000 in 2026. Your alternate proposal is $70,000, but you show in the decrease line $70,000. So I'm not sure, I'm assuming you mean to zero that out, since you're showing a deduction of $70,000. Am I correct?
If it said 76 was the requested amount, or 70,000 was requested, and my number was 70, that is an agreement to it.
Then why does it show in the decrease column 70,000 as a decrease?
It's not all decreased. That label got put on there in the very beginning, but as you go down, if it's zero in that column.
But it's not zero in that column. It's 70,000 in that column.
Give me a page or number or something.
It's line 4, 5.
So the idea behind that, I need to.
Mayor, Alderman Zimmerman would like to answer that. Yep, Alderman Zimmerman.
Whoever has an answer.
No, just because I helped work format this a little bit. So the idea behind that was that we had 70,000 in the budget on 25, and it was proposed in, I see what you mean. It was proposed in 26, but we'd honestly like to take it out because we were confused as to why all of a sudden we have that in our budget from 25 and not from the past X amount of years.
Because this year, it's going into the budget under the Corporation Council is contracting with Northwest Regional Investment Board to do it for us, to start doing the work there. So it got put in. All of this, I think, was discussed at the department head meetings that were here. I'm not sure why we're having them if the answers aren't going to be reflected. But I guess the question that I also have then, based on this document, is what you're proposing that where it says under the alternate proposal, the number should be 0 instead of 70,000.
Correct.
Okay. You're also proposing to take $303,000 out of the salaries for the Corporation Counsel's office. Now, we struggle to hire lawyers there on a regular basis. Our numbers aren't even close to competitive with the private practice. They're hardly competitive with state and federal government. We lose lawyers there all the time. I'm not sure how taking $300,000 from the Corporation Counsel's salary budget is going to increase any of the things that you spoke about today. How is that going to make any difference, other than it's going to make it harder for our lawyers to handle cases, which, by the way, the Corporation Counsel is hugely successful. We try a lot more cases than we did 20 years ago, and we're successful with many of those cases, excessive force cases and injury cases that happen. That's $300,000 that's going, plus you're going to take another $125,000 out of outside counsel. You know, we're spending, this year, we're fighting the bankruptcy of Waterbury Hospital. I don't even know what number we're at now for that. At one point, we're at $30,000. We must be well north of that by now. We're about $65,000 just to handle the bankruptcy of Waterbury Hospital, trying to protect our $22 million. So how does that advance any of the things that you talked about today? That's what I'd like to know. Is there an answer to it?
Alderwoman Zimmerman.
I believe that we've had vacancies for a number of years in legal, so, I mean, Jack, I'd like you to comment, because a lot of the work was put in by you, but I believe that it was due to the number of years that the vacancies were open.
Yeah, I have to go through several different areas to find it. I have it here on numbers, but I don't have my explanation.
I'd like to discuss
I don't have the explanations in your book either, so.
The explanation in my book are for a number of lawyers to work for the Corporation Counsel. Now, you're cutting out $303,000. When we have trouble keeping, the reason there are vacancies over all those years is because lawyers come and lawyers go. Just this year, we lost a very good attorney in our office to the Postal Service because they have better benefits, they have better, higher pay than we're paying, they get pensions where our attorneys don't get pensions when they work for us. All of those things are hard to compete against, and you want to cut money out of the budget, we'll never hire another lawyer. And then you want to take it out of outside counsel as well. How are we supposed to defend the city when lawsuits come? Year after year, people sue us. The number of lawsuits they handle is extraordinary, and the success rates they have is extraordinary. So how does this benefit all of the things you just read that were pretty speeches? What does this do to advance those?
Okay.
Why are
Alderwoman, go ahead.
So
You're recognized.
why are we not offering more salary and benefits? Or, sorry.
Because you're cutting $303,000 out of the budget.
Well, we're not, because we haven't, I mean, you guys are laughing and doing this,
No,
but
I'm
all the
asking
years
you what your rationale is.
our budget
for
has
it.
passed, so, and we're still in the same issue that we have with people being underpaid. We're not being able to hire people. We've had vacancies for years, and you guys are laughing and looking at one another like it's funny.
The vacancies are rolling vacancies, Alderwoman.
It's not funny.
It's not the same alderman, it's not the same lawyer year after year after year. At any given time, when the budget is developed, there are going to be vacancies in the office as lawyers come and go. That's the natural progression of things. We also have lawyers that have been there for a long time. But yeah, we don't give pensions. I mean, they've never gotten pensions. We've been very careful about what we do for post-employment benefits, given the trouble that we've had. I don't see that changing in the near future. We don't have the wherewithal to do it. But the question is, we've come with a number that makes sense to the lawyer who's running that office as to what we need and should have, and you're cutting it. I'm just asking for the explanation. And if it's other than there's just were vacancies at budget development time, if that's the only answer, my answer to you is those are rolling vacancies. At that moment, they were empty. We've been trying to hire construction attorneys, litigating attorneys. But as you know, hiring people is not easy, especially in professions these days. It's hard in general, and it's hard when you're competing with some of the governmental entities right now. So,
Thank you.
how about $70,000 is cut from the senior shuttle? $70,000 from the senior services, which is going to fund the senior shuttle. How does that advance all of the things we just heard about? Grants to elderly programs on the first page. 5 up from the bottom, $70,000.
5 from the bottom?
That's a program that is fully utilized and oversubscribed to at this point, and there's $70,000 coming. How does that benefit the taxpayers and the quality of life here?
Any further discussion? If not, I'll recognize Alderman Mosley. Alderman Mosley.
Yes, thank you for recognition, Mr. Chair. Regarding the motion that's on the floor to table the vote for resolution number 1, I'm against that motion. I think that we need to, given respect to what was presented to us today, I think that we need to take up the items that are on our agenda, the resolutions that have been presented to us, the information that's been presented to us in good faith. I do think that these discussions that we are having are healthy discussions. I do appreciate hearing from my colleagues regarding, their thoughts on, as well as the mayor, on the budget, but I am against tabling the vote for these resolutions. I think that if for some reason if these resolutions don't pass, then, we can continue discussions, but I do think, given reasons previously stated, we should take up the resolutions that are presented before us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion. Alderman Lopez, excuse me. Alderman Lopez.
Go ahead,
Oh,
let him go.
all right, Alderman
Let him
Alsop.
go. Just an answer to the $70,000 on general operation costs to grant the elderly, is that was the question?
Gets the senior shuttle, yes.
Well, it doesn't say senior shuttle there, but it says elderly programs.
And
Okay?
you
The reason why that was looked at, you're asking me the reason why. 23, it was 145,000 and change. 24, it was 326,000 and change. Now it's 420,000 and change is a request. That's a lot of money difference.
Yep.
We didn't cut that program. We gave that program $24,000 more than it had in the last audit spending. Okay? So, 350,000 is more than they had in 24. So we didn't cut it. We reduced it. And we reduced it by a fair amount, I thought. That was one that I was easily able to follow what you were saying to come up with.
Did you, now, well,
No, if we-
I think Alderman Mosley's point is well taken, that you probably should decide whether or not we're going to table this, because come back to the discussion, and then if not, we can do this or we can do it whenever you table it too. But I would remind you that you are by charter bound to
Okay.
vote on this by tomorrow. So,
I'd like to make a point also, that timing is everything. Back in November, when I requested the cost to operate Sacred Heart and what it was costing us in police and fire and insurance and upkeep and any associated,
Alderman Alsop,
what we were getting.
Alderman Alsop,
This
no,
is
we're
all
gonna stay,
pertinent.
no, now we're
This
getting,
is all pertinent to the argument, sir.
it's not pertinent to
Don't-
the argument. It's not,
Then
Alderman
don't
Alsop,
allow them to argue with me with those points if I can't counteract it.
Alderman Alsop, you're not talking about a budget right now, or the timing of a budget.
I am.
You're going- No, you're not. You're going off topic on an issue that has been a thorn in your side. I understand that, but we're not.
No.
We're staying on the budget.
All right, then I'll reduce it down to this. The issue is, if I can't give you an answer or a proposal hours or days before or whatever, why do I have to wait 6 to 8 months for something that does affect the budget because we spend money at Sacred Heart and I don't know what it cost us? But I have to wait 6 or 7, maybe even 8, I can't remember the exact date, was the first time I asked for it, and have gotten nothing. But yet you're telling me, oh my God, how could you do this to me? It's very easy. I still don't have everything I need to come up with the right numbers because I don't know what it cost us for these, what it cost to keep St. Mary's sitting there as an idle shell, what it cost to watch Sacred Heart deteriorate and fall apart. I don't know what that cost us. How can I set a budget if I don't know what costs are? So if you want to talk about timing, let's get the information into our hands that we can work with. I hold me responsible that you got it at the last minute. Then I can hold you responsible for still not getting it, and it's been 7 months.
Further discussion. So, Alderman Lopez, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. President. I'd like to call the vote on the underlined motion.
Yep. No further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of tabling resolution number 1 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Roll call.
Alderman Alsop.
I'm sorry, I misspoke when I spoke
Yeah.
up. Yes.
Yes.
to table it. I was thinking you were saying something else.
Alderwoman Cavallo.
No.
Alderman Dorso. Alderman Hunter. Alderman Lopez. Alderman Mosley.
No.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy.
No.
Alderman Nugent. No?
Did you say no? No.
Yeah, okay, just checking. Let me see. Alderman Rinaldi.
No.
Alderman Rodriguez.
Nay.
Yes.
Nay.
Alderman Salvio.
No.
Alderman Taladine.
No.
Alderwoman Weaver.
No.
Alderwoman Zimmerman.
Yes.
Alderman DiGiovincarlo.
No, and please make note, Alderman Rodriguez was a no. He did say no.
Oh, he did say no.
All right.
Okay, so we got 13 no, 2 yes.
Okay, that, the motion to table fails. We are back on our motion to approve resolution number 1. Is there further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution number 1 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Roll call.
Alderman Alsep.
No.
Alderwoman Cavallo.
Yes.
Alderman Dorso.
Aye.
Alderman Hunter.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez. Alderman Mosley.
Yes.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy.
Yes.
Alderman Nugent.
Yes.
Alderman Rinaldi.
Yes.
Alderman Rodriguez.
No.
Alderman Salvio.
Yes.
Alderman Taladine.
Yes.
Alderwoman Weaver.
Yes.
Alderman Zimmerman.
No.
Alderman DiGiovincarlo.
Yes.
Got 12 yes, 3 no.
Okay, resolution number 1 is approved. The resolution number 2 is a resolution approving the tax levy and appropriations for operating departments of the city of Waterbury for the ensuing fiscal year pursuant to section 9, statute 9B-3C of the charter of the city of Waterbury. The resolution number 2 will set the mill rate for real estate and personal property taxes at a rate of 44.98 mils, and the motor vehicle mill rate will be set at 32.46 mils. Alderman Dorso, is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 2 is read.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy?
Second.
Motion made in second. Discussion. Alderman Elson.
Yes, to set this mill rate now is to agree that the budget was the right budget. So I'm going to be saying no, but I'd like to point out something, that we have a lot of untaxed property that is tax eligible. I received a list. After 6 months of waiting, I received a list in the middle of doing all the budgets. So I agree that I only gave it a quick cursory look because I knew at that point I had one choice or the other. But 4 million plus at St. Peter and Paul's, or Church of whatever it's called now, is still tax exempt. It's a non-existing church. There is no church there. But they don't have to pay taxes on a $4 million assessment. But Jack Alsef and everybody else has to pay taxes on his house. Doesn't matter. Everybody I know that owns property has to pay taxes, no matter what. But we are taking no action on some of these properties that are clearly in violation. They should be being taxed. In 6 months or a year or 5 years from now, when the building's starting to crumble and they come to the Board of Aldermen and say, we got to buy this building in the next 3 months, we got to hurry up and do it. And everybody steps in and buys that building, we're going to pay whatever number the dartboard hit. Because we don't have any tax liens against these buildings that do owe us money now because they're not tax exempt. They have direct direct effect on the mill rate when we have these buildings and things like this. We do not tax them, therefore, the rest of us make up for it. Shame on us. We got a building downtown. They didn't pay. So what did we do? We let them collect their rent for whatever time they wanted. When the building got so crummy, nobody even wanted to pay rent in it. We went in and bought it from them, gave them enough money to pay us back and walk away with money. But they didn't put 10 cents back into the building. Nobody did that to my house. I needed a roof. I had to put it on. Nobody came over and said, hold your taxes for a few years, then we'll put a roof on it. And we'll buy the house from you because it'll be worth more. This is irresponsible. This is where we need to be responsible to the people of Waterbury, the taxpayers of the city of Waterbury, be they commercial or private, and do our due diligence and collect what we're supposed to collect from those who have it. Not going and bail them out because they don't feel like taking care of it. Drive up and down several of these roads. There's 3-family houses that 20 years ago people liked to live in. Now the rents are astronomical and they're derelict because we have people who come in, know that they can buy the house up, not spend a dime on it, let it go, and walk away from it. This is wrong. These are simple little things that we should be required to do that we don't do, that would reduce our mill rate. Collect the taxes from the people who should be paying them. And if they're not paying them, don't buy the property. Take it in lieu of taxes owed. And maybe I wouldn't cut so much out of Corporation Council if they're fighting for that money. I'd say, great, they're getting us money, they're making us profits. But instead, we're letting people walk away with money in their pocket, thumbing their nose at Waterbury, never to look again. And then another developer will come in after we fix it up or take it over. Something seriously wrong there. I don't understand that. I'm not an economics major, but I certainly know when you buy something that isn't worth it, it's called a loss. And when you pass it on to somebody else, it's called dereliction. So I ask that, this mill rate is something else we should consider. Go after the ones that owe it to us first. Take that off of what those of us who are paying on a regular basis. I don't care if you reduce my taxes by $10. If I don't have to pay something because somebody else isn't, that's justice. That's my opinion.
Further discussion? Alderman Mosley.
Yes, with respect to Resolution 2, I'm in favor of Resolution 2, especially given the fact that it reduces the mill rate from last fiscal year. So I'm enthusiastic about that, and I encourage my colleagues to be as enthusiastic about reducing our city's mill rate. So I will be voting in favor of Resolution 2.
Further discussion? Alderman Nelson.
Yes, I'd like to point out that it's very easy to reduce the mill rate when you've increased the appraised values. That's very simple. That anybody could do that. That's not an accomplishment. Because the values went up, you're going to get more money you can reduce. And so we should be. I know in the past there's been times when they didn't reduce it. The values went up and they whacked us over the head twice with the valuations and the taxes. I'm glad we didn't have that happen. But that's nothing to stand on the top of a mountain and crow about because it's very simple. You need so much money, you've got so much assessed value, you divide it. When the assessed value goes up and you divide it, now you have a lower mill rate. It's very simple for that. So, congratulations. That's all I can say is we did it. We lowered the mill rate by assessing everybody more.
We lowered a mill rate also that is tremendous for business, personal property. Not so much for the homeowner. I hear you on that, but it's a bonus for if you own a business and you have personal property and you have motor vehicles that are actually capped at the mill rate anyways, but it is a tremendous boost to businesses in the city of Waterbury. So it's not just a congratulations, Jay, we did it. It does affect businesses in this city. Alderwoman Zimmerman.
Thank you for recognizing me. I did vote no on the resolution number 1. I did have a few concerns when we had the meeting with the department head of audit, and I would like to, in the future this year, start understanding the audit process more and to just understand that and feel confident that we have everything on a list and that everything is accounted for. So therefore, I'm going to have to vote no to this since I also voted no to resolution number 1, but thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in
Wait,
favor of...
Mr. President,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, and I know this is
Mayor
off
Pernuski.
topic, but I do want to just, because Jack has made some points, Alderman Alsip, that I don't want to leave just lingering there because it sounds like then we agree with them. So there is a great amount of property in the city that is untaxed because it is untaxable property. By state law, we simply cannot tax it. Nothing we do will change that. You've picked one example of one church in the city owned by the Archdiocese of Hartford or by the parish corporation. I'm not sure what their ownership is. We own half of it, by the way, for the dual language school, and we're hoping to expand that. We'll actually be with you before the end of this month with a proposal to try to expand that all the way through 8th grade so that we can keep students there. The other half is still owned by the Archdiocese. It's still a church. You go by, it's still a church. It hasn't been used for any other purpose, so it's difficult to tax those things, but we do monitor it. If it were ever sold to someone for some other reason than a church, then it would go back onto the tax rolls. But right now, it's still a church. It's still owned by a tax-exempt entity. I don't create that list. The state of Connecticut does. Beyond that, when you come to delinquent taxpayers, the city liens every delinquent taxpayer in the city of Waterbury. It's not that we're not doing all of that, but there are strategic decisions to be made as to what happens with particular buildings if you foreclose on the taxes in certain cases. And then you become responsible for maintaining the building. In some cases that makes sense, in some cases it doesn't. I know you're all hung up on one exchange place, and we talked about that and we've gone through it, but you keep misstating that it was a rental property and that all of the taxes on that building were unpaid, which isn't true. That building was 7 separate legally owned entities. It wasn't rented, it was owned. And it was a mix of people who owed us taxes and didn't owe us taxes. And to foreclose on half of the units when the other half we wouldn't be able to foreclose on simply would have meant we owned units in a building in which the other half was out of our control and weren't willing to put the money in. I don't disagree with you. The owner should have kept it up. The owners of Scoville's and Chase and Anaconda should have cleaned their property. But none of that happened. And there's no way to go back and fix that right now. So what we're looking at is what is the future of downtown, what is the future of the city? And sometimes in order to be successful, you have to make investments in these things. We clean up the brownfields because it makes sense. That building, where it was located, how it was situated, makes sense for us to take it over, rehab it, use it for Chase. We're going to get benefits out of it. We've talked about that as well. It's going to cover the cost. There's no burden to the taxpayer. So all of that's going to happen as a result of that as well. And Sacred Heart was owned by the Archdiocese. We still have plans for that, and we're working with a number of people to try to make that work to help alleviate some of the problems in that neighborhood that are associated with homelessness, which continues to rise all across the state and all across the country. So we continue to work through on those things. North Main Street has been successful. UConn's in there. We bought it. We controlled it. UConn's there. St. Mary's has a developer who's got an application into the Department of Housing to do healthcare housing there, and we're very close to finalizing a purchase and sales agreement with them, which you know about because we've talked about this. You know that that's all happening up there. That was another example where we took control of it, and it's going to be a hugely beneficial use going forward. So these are investments into the future. They're things you have to think ahead on. Sometimes we get into it. I don't want to be in the real estate business long term. We're getting rid of St. Mary's. We got rid of North Main Street. We got rid of Holland Hughes. We're going to get rid of One Exchange Place once we're done with the Chase building. So we have no long-term plans to remain as landlords. But sometimes it makes sense to do these things. But I don't like the continuous mischaracterization of what was going on there with the taxes and how simple it would have been to simply take it over. 96 North Main Street, one owner, take over the taxes, works. One Exchange Place, 7 owners. Couldn't sell the restaurant because nobody wanted to become part of it. We bought it, fixed it. That's being sold, being rehabbed even as we speak so that you can put a restaurant and housing down there. So that's how these things work. That's how they benefit things. And we'll continue on with all of that. So I just want to make it clear that we do all of the things we need to do to collect taxes. Our tax collection rate is somewhere north of 96%. That's pretty extraordinary. When you take the back taxes we come in, it exceeds 100% at some point. So we're doing really well with the collection of taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution number 2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
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 Roll call.
Alderman Alsep.
No.
Alderwoman Cavallo.
Yes.
Alderman Dorso.
Aye.
Alderman Hunter.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Mosley.
Yes.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy.
Yes.
Alderman Nugent. Alderman Rinaldi.
Yes.
Alderman Rodriguez.
Yes.
Alderman Salvio.
Yes.
Alderman Taladine. Yes. Alderwoman Weaver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Zimmerman.
No.
Alderman DiGiovan Carlo.
Yes.
13 yes, 2 no.
Okay. Resolution number 2 passes. Resolution number 3 is a resolution making appropriations for the ensuing 2026 fiscal year for the Water Pollution Control Enterprise Fund of the City of Waterbury. Resources $21,671,912. Appropriations $21,671,912. Be it also resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Waterbury that the sums hereby enumerated as appropriations and resources for the Water Pollution Control Fund of the City of Waterbury for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 necessitates a rate of 3.953 per CCF, which rate and approval is set under a separate process in compliance with the City of Waterbury. Alderman Dorso, is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution number 3.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there a discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution number 3 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Resolution number 3 is approved. Resolution number 4 is a resolution making appropriations for the ensuing 2026 fiscal year for the Water Enterprise Fund of the City of Waterbury. Resources $19,368,830. Appropriations $19,368,830. Be it also resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Waterbury that the sums hereby enumerated as appropriations and resources for the Water Fund of the City of Waterbury for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 necessitate a rate of $2.65 per CCF and service charge all sizes of $12 per quarter, which are hereby authorized by the Board of Aldermen. Alderman Dorso, is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution number 4.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Alsop.
Yes, this is one of those funds that you want to put your seatbelt on in case you say. I think we should increase the numbers. And the reason is that the infrastructure of the water department is shot. Anybody want to dispute that with me will stay here forever. We need to do a lot of work on our water department and our water mains. Most of these are 100 years or thereabouts old, sometimes older, some just a little bit less, except for the newer developments. And anybody's that ever seen one of these water mains break, you know what it's like. I don't know how many millions of dollars it cost us when it broke down in Waterville on Thomaston Avenue. I've had a small residential, the service, not my own personal service, the service in front of my house let go. We have 130 pounds of pressure in my neighborhood. It created a Grand Canyon in front of my house in a matter of 15 minutes. And this is typical in the city of Waterbury. It's happening all too often. This is what I think our COVID money should have been directed to, not buying derelict buildings, but fixing water mains that are derelict and service every one of us, safety and health-wise, every day. But seeing as though over 100 years of habits, letting things go and fixing them when we can, you know, I've got a street that's 200 yards long, and we had a 16-inch crack, so they replaced 3 feet of pipe. The rest of the pipe was all put in at the same time. We're in trouble. We're in trouble in the city of Waterbury. And this is the part that I think we're going to have more and more emergencies with. And anybody from the water department will tell you they're out at all times of days and weathers and everything else with these water mains that happen haphazardly, or I mean, just without notice, and they create a lot of problems. So this is one of the budgets that I think we should have looked at and created some more money for. It's terrible to have to pay more, but it's even worse when you don't have water for a day or two in the middle of the summer, or you've got a stream running down that you can run a canoe in, running down the street, or God forbid somebody's car goes in a hole that's created or something like that. It's just not the right way to do things. And unfortunately, these are the sins of the past that we're all getting caught up in. The neglect that happened over all the years and stuff. And at some point, we're going to have to address it, and address it hard and fast and expensive. And this stuff is not going to get cheaper in the years ahead. I'm going to vote for this only because it's what we have. But I encourage that in the future, we do a little better trying to get the infrastructure done. And I know we have capital improvement and stuff like that. We've got grants coming in that are going to fix the lead connectors and stuff like that. But what I find ironic is we're going to fix the lead connector off the main to the house. But the main that's 110 years old is going to sit there anyways, and we're not going to fix it until it blows. Then we're going to open the road up and do it again. So we need to do better on this one. That's my point on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Alderman Zimmerman.
Do we have an update on our appeal with Watertown and anything with, if that'll affect us this year,
Mayor, you want to take it?
please?
Yeah, so no, the only update is, as you know, case was tried, we prevailed. Watertown has taken an appeal. It was argued early January, and we're awaiting a decision from the appellate court. So we'll see what happens with that, and then we'll see, you know, whether the court agrees with us. If they do, then that's $22 million that'll be coming into the water fund at that point. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Alsop.
Just a question then, with that money, if we're, excuse me, when we're successful in getting the money from Watertown, is that earmarked, or is it just going to become a general fund for them?
it'll go to the water fund because it is the difference between what Watertown has paid us and what they should have paid us based on our billing rates for the
Right.
water department. So we'll go into the water, it'll go into the water fund.
There's no deficit that's creating at this point, is there?
No.
Can we ask then that that money be put into infrastructure when we finally do get it? And for this side of town, not the side that goes to Watertown. Let's fix our side, the other side of the town. So if something breaks, Watertown has to suffer for 6 months while we find the money.
It will get repurposed into water. We'll see where we're going with it. We do, by the way, have an infrastructure plan for water. We're working on it. We continue to make improvements. You can't do it all at once anyway, so there are areas where the water lines remain old, and unfortunately, you can't do everything all at once, despite the movie title, I guess. So we are working that through. We're trying to get it done in places and as efficiently and effectively as possible. We'll continue to have some issues with some of the older mains as a result of that as well. So, but I appreciate the idea, although I note that in your proposal, the only changes you made to water were to cut funding, not to add money back in. So, but I appreciate the thoughts that we should be spending more because we still have the lowest water rates anywhere in the state of Connecticut. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Further discussion?
And the best water.
Hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution number 4 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and resolution number 4 is approved. Resolution number 5 is a resolution adopting the schedule of fees and charges for services, licenses, and other purposes of the city of Waterbury for the ensuing fiscal year. Alderman Dorso, is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution number 5.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Alsa.
I've had a discussion and heard from many people about out-of-town landlords and stuff like that. And I'd like to see some kind of a effort made to recognize that this responsibility has to be passed on to the taxpayers who stay here. So at some point in time, if someone who does not live in Waterbury, has no tie to Waterbury, or as I've been told by people who have tried to chase down the owners, there's 14 shadow corporations to have to run through before you can find out who owns the building. If a building like that is changing hands, that there be a fee put on it, and for lack of a better term, an aggravation fee, so when they leave, we at least have something we can recoup from these people.
Alderman Alsa, I didn't hear on what topic are you talking about? I'm sorry. Are you talking about properties that go derelict?
These are the fees.
Yep.
And the fees charged to people who own property for registration, 2 properties or more, landlord property, if the out-of-town properties could be hit a little harder. People don't live here, the out-of-town landlords, the absentee landlords that ignore the properties and stuff.
Okay.
When they're buying it, if we could hit them with an aggravation fee, so we have something to go back on when they leave us. Something, I don't know what to call it. But recognize the fact that they're not citizens of Waterbury, they don't live here, and so many of them burn us that we need to be able to get something.
Understood. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution number 5 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and resolution number 5 is approved. Resolution number 6 is a resolution adopting the schedule of, excuse me. Resolution number 6 is a resolution allowing mathematical corrections to the budget of the city of Waterbury and emergency transfers for the ensuing fiscal year. Alderman Dorso, is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution number 6.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Discussion. Alderman Zimmerman.
Is there a range, a dollar range to this? Or a max? Or a minimum? Well, probably not a minimum.
For as far as an emergency transfer?
Right.
Sarah
this
Gary,
is to-
would you like to answer that one?
Sure, Sarah Gary, Manager Budget Development and Oversight. No, the emergency transfer section is related to snow removal, the purchase of sand and salt supplies. We haven't had to utilize this resolution in a number of years now due to the fact that we budget for outside contractors for snow removal and the purchase of sand and salt through the capital budget using our town aid road grant through the state of Connecticut. And that funding doesn't lapse, so we've had some carryover funding, and it hasn't been necessary to make transfers to cover those items on an emergency basis for a number of years now. The Overtime related to snow removal is budgeted within the general fund, but we've also not had to do that on any type of emergency basis in recent years. But as the resolution says, if it were to become necessary during the upcoming fiscal year, we would notify the board immediately, a meeting immediately following when the transfer was made. And the resolution doesn't set any dollar amount, minimum, maximum.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all is in favor of approving resolution number 6 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and resolution number 6 is approved. Capital Budget Resolution Number 1 is a resolution making appropriations for capital expenses of the City of Waterbury for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 pursuant to Statute 9B-3C of the Charter of the City of Waterbury. Total appropriations for Resolution Number 1, $75,302,496. Alderman Dorso, is there a motion?
Motion to approve capital budget resolution number 1.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving capital budget resolution number 1 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it, the motion carries, and capital budget resolution is approved. Capital budget resolution number 1 is approved. Resolution number 2 is a resolution approving the capital expenses for the departments of the City of Waterbury for the fiscal year July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 pursuant to Statute 9B-3C of the Charter of the City of Waterbury. Once again, total appropriations would be $75,302,496. Alderman Dorso, is there a
Motion to
motion?
approve.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor of signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion carries, and capital resolution number 2 is approved. With that, Alderman Dorso, is there a motion to return to the regular order of business?
So moved.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor of returning to the regular order of business signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and we are returning to regular order of business. The following items are on the consent calendar. Resolution number 1 is on consent to approve. Resolution number 2 is on consent to approve. Resolution number 3 and 4 are on consent to approve. Resolutions 5 and 6 are on consent to approve. And capital, excuse me, let me get to the right proper name. Capital Budget Resolution Number 1 is on consent to approve, and Capital Budget Resolution Number 2 is on consent to approve. Alderman Dorso, is there a motion with respect to the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Alderman Alsa.
I'd like to remove Resolution 1 and number 2 from the consent calendar.
Alderman Dorso. Motion now is to approve the consent calendar as read, minus Resolution Number 1 and Resolution Number 2. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor of adopting the consent calendar as read signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the consent calendar is approved. With respect to Resolution Number 1, a resolution making appropriations for operating departments of the City of Waterbury for the ensuing 2026 fiscal year pursuant to Statute 9B-3C of the Charter of the City of Waterbury. Total appropriations for the general fund, $446,627,058. Alderman Dorso.
Motion to approve resolution number 1.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call.
Alderman Alsep.
No.
Alderwoman Cavallo.
Yes.
Alderman Dorso.
Yes.
Alderman Hunter.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez. Yes. Alderman Mosley.
Yes.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy.
Yes.
Alderman Nugent.
Yes.
Alderman Rinaldi. Yes. Alderman Rodriguez.
Nay.
Alderman Salvio.
Yes.
Alderman Taladine. Alderwoman Weaver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Zimmerman.
No.
Alderman Carlo.
Yes.
13 yes, 2 no.
Okay, the ayes have it. Resolution 1 is approved. With respect to resolution number 2, a resolution approving the tax levy and appropriations for the operating departments of the city of Waterbury for the ensuing fiscal year.
sorry?
Pursuant to statute
12?
9B-3C.
Who said? I can't hear him.
Excuse me, sorry.
12-3? Who, said? Okay, I'm sorry, you're right.
Okay, just
12-3.
for the record, resolution 1 was passed 12-3.
Yes.
The ayes have it. Okay. With respect to resolution number 2, resolution number 2 is a resolution approving the tax levy and appropriations for operating departments of the city of Waterbury for the ensuing fiscal year pursuant to statute 9B-3C of the charter of the city of Waterbury. It sets the real estate and personal property mill rate at 44.98 mils, and it sets the motor vehicle rate for 32.46 mils. Alderman Dorso, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made in second. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Roll call.
Alderman Alsep.
No.
Alderwoman Cavallo.
Yes.
Alderman Dorso.
Yes.
Alderman Hunter.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez. Alderman Mosley.
Yes.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy.
Yes.
Alderman Nugent. Alderman Rinaldi. Alderman Rodriguez.
Yes.
Alderman Salvio.
Yes.
Alderman Taladine.
Yes.
Alderwoman Weaver.
Yes.
Alderwoman Zimmerman.
No.
And Alderman Carlo.
Yes.
13 yes, 2 no.
Okay, with that, the ayes have it. Resolution number 2 is approved. That is our business for the evening. Before we adjourn, I do want to thank all the department heads, mayor staff, obviously our finance staff. Thank you, everyone who helped us through this process. And can I get Alderman Alsop? Is there something?
Yes, I'd like to request that after the November election, the city takes some money and takes 15 aldermen to a class to orientate them as to how this function happens. Because it's obvious that it's not obvious to some of us. I try to apply common sense here, and I trip all over it, because it's not common sense to vote on things that you haven't really discussed. It's not common sense to have public hearings and give yourself 5 days or 7 days or whatever it is to come to a conclusion without being able to research or talk to the people who came and talked, or all the people who call at home, because I get more calls at home than I get, obviously, than any of us get from the podium. So I think it's very important that we set something up so that there's an orientation process,
Sure.
so that we have a chance to
So-
make a real difference sometimes, instead of just getting a big rubber stamp and walking around the room with it.
Get a big what?
A big rubber stamp, I don't have one.
So-
I didn't get
so-
mine, so maybe if we had an
Again,
orientation, I'd get one.
Okay, so again, we're going to end on probably a sour note. This process has gone on for months. So, number one. Number two, the 5 days you speak of is after the second public hearing, or the 7 days you speak of, is after the second public hearing, where every single department head has come into this place, where all aldermen have been called in, not by some of us, or the budget has been called in by some aldermen, not by all of us, and we've sat through all those department head meetings. And I got to tell you something. It's disappointing when some people request aldermen to come, budget heads to come in, and we sit here, and they're not there at those meetings, the budget head meetings that they requested. So, number one. Number
There's
two, I
a
think it's
point
been...
that I want to agree with you. Before you go any further, I want to
Excuse me?
agree with that point. People who don't come to do their job shouldn't have it.
Well, so I think, again, we're going backwards on this. This has been a very open process. You've called in every department head you've asked to. By the way, any department head that you have questions for, that will gladly answer the phone. Whenever you call them throughout the year, throughout this process, you could have called them and asked them any kind of question you wanted to. So, again, I guess we'll do this for the second year in a row that we're, I can't think of a more transparent way of doing the budget, what we've done. The budget was there from day one, from the day you got the book. The resolutions are there from the day you got the book. You spoke to every single department head. I can't tell you, I don't think we could do any more. And plus the fact that you could call them. Last, it is not, I agree with you on all aldermen should get orientated and all that, but if you want to do an opposing budget or an alternate budget, that is also on yourselves. I thought that tonight, if you guys went forward with stuff you would have done, I thought personally that it would have put you in a bad position and you would not have been ready and you would not have been qualified to present that budget. I thought it would be best to save some possible embarrassment. And I thought that was a nice gesture on my part. So, and then to return the favor to say that we're not transparent, this and that's not right. It's wrong. I got to tell you, we've called in every department head. We've done everything asked of us as a board, and I don't think it's right to insinuate that we're rubber stamps, because the rubber stamping works both ways sometimes. Because I can obviously see it. Let me tell you something.
Okay.
So, all right. So
I'm not going to apologize. I did say rubber stamp, and that's fine. But I never used the word not being transparent.
well,
We did not at any point receive anything that told us, at least not me, and I was at all the meetings, that we had such a limited time that once we got the information we were looking for, and if you don't agree with me, that's fine, but part of the information I'm looking for is public input. And to give me 5 days after public input to go through hundreds of pages and apply what I heard and what other people said and what wasn't said at the podium, what's been said to me in grocery stores or parking lots or any of the other places, I didn't realize that I had to do a Cliff Note on everything. I took the time of putting together what I could over the last several months. And I went back, and as I heard different things, I changed it.
so I will say this to
So
you.
I had an ongoing process that I utilized the entire time given us. I did not know that we would have this one day before the notice, so that if there was the best alternative budget that the world could have developed, there was no chance for anybody to accept it, because we only have one day.
So I'll say this to you.
To me, I don't think that's proper.
What did the two public speakers change, in your opinion, last week? The two public speakers that you heard on the last public hearing, what did it change? You said you had to wait for those two people to speak. What did they change? What changed in your mind that they made such an impact on it that you had to wait to that last possible public hearing to present your budget?
That many of the
You
people-
could have, once again, if you want to watch last year's
You
budget.
let me
meeting-
answer you, I'll tell you.
Go ahead, yes. And that-
I heard public speakers saying that they thought that there should be more capital expenditures, that we need to address
Yep,
the infrastructure much more.
okay,
That wasn't something I heard up until the night of the public hearing.
right.
So that was something that I had to look back at, because I was looking at the capital improvement budget.
Right. So,
And after that was said, people who saw it and heard of it also called me and agreed with it. So there was a number of people who turned my mind away from just looking for red lines in the capital budget.
Did
So
you-
yes, I do take it seriously.
did you
and
call for more money spent in the capital budget?
Did I what?
Did you call for more money on resolution 1 or no, resolution number 2 of the capital budget?
Not
Did
at
you-
this point,
did you-
because I
did
think
you-
we're being overtaxed.
So
to
after
begin
they
with.
spoke and told you, man, we really need more money, more additions and more funds to the capital budget, you didn't add it.
Well, let's put it this way. I knew it was a futile attempt to say that I didn't want so much money. So if I asked for more, I don't think the vote would have been any different than 13-2 or
Okay.
12-3. Because that's the vote.
Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're out of order. This is not on the discussion. Thank you.
Just
My
one last
question
thing.
was under
And-
good of-
And I,
of-
and I appreciate, I think it's a point well taken, but again, there's something that's hanging out there that I just want to be clear about. The budget book was presented to you on March 31st of this year. That night, we had a presentation, and Sarah Gary went through this budget book. But one of the things she highlighted in this budget book, and it's right here in the budget book, it's right here at the top, budget timeline, fiscal year 2026. It lays out all of the proposed dates, and it says here, if you go down, by Friday, May 30th, 2025, the Board of Aldermen holds the last of 2 public hearings on the budget. The charter states the hearing shall be held no more than 7 days, nor fewer than 3 days prior to the budget adoption. And Sarah highlighted all of this out there. So
But on the same page, it also says budget adopted by the Board of Aldermen,
it has,
Friday, June 6th.
it has to be no later than Friday, June 6th, but also has to be adopted no more than 3 nor less than 7 days after the public hearing. There's 2 parts to it, but no matter, the public hearing could have been 3 days later, and then we would have gone to Friday.
But you're
this was-
pointing to the book, sir, and I apologize that I
It's
only look
also-
at C.
It's also in the
Budget
charter.
adoption,
It's
I
also
looked
in
and
the
said
charter.
June 6th.
I-
I have until June 6th.
Sarah explained all of this, but I would also point out to you that it's in the charter as well. So I just want to make it clear that whether it was understood or not, I can't help, but we provided you the information of how the process worked. And it's the same process as last year, and the same process as the year before, and it's the same process since 2003, when this charter was adopted, that requires all of this. And by the way, the most comprehensive requirement in the charter for budget adoption that has existed in the city of Waterbury over the last 25 years. And I'm proud to say that it was the Charter Revision Commission that I chaired that came up with all of the transparency that's in here, the ability to get this book and the backup book and meet with all the department heads and get all the information in a very, very timely manner. And so the information has all been put out there. And by the way, budgets happen every year. If you want to know what you're going to propose for next year, you can start looking at this stuff now and work on it. It doesn't have to happen in 2 weeks or 1 week or 3 months. It could happen over 12 months. This process will start in my office sometime before the end of this calendar year, just to put it into perspective.
Then can I please ask that it be edited so when it says Friday, June 6th, budget adopted, that there be an asterisk or a parentheses that said, unless we decide to have the public hearing a week or 2 more.
I will see if we
Okay?
can.
This is a dead set. It's a 1-line item. I don't even have to be literate.
Right.
Budget adopted by the Board of Aldermen, Friday, June 6th.
These are all by dates. These are the drop dead dates on here. By May 30th, you have to have the public hearing. By June 6th, you have to adopt the budget. But you've also got to look at the other part to it, so.
I assure you, if I have the opportunity next year, as I said to you last year, I will give you something different. I did, but it wasn't good enough. Next year, if I have the opportunity or choose to take the opportunity, I'm not sure yet,
So, okay.
you will get it.
Alderman Alstef, in case you're wondering why Alderman Lopez said we are out of order, is because there is no good of the order on a special meeting. We should have just adjourned. So I did let you speak, which now it's
I
over.
appreciate that.
Yep. So Alderman Dorso, motion to adjourn.
The mayor's
Think
not
about
also
this.
part of it.
You gotta get a motion.
So
to
moved.
adjourn? Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We are adjourned.